Before we start, drop a comment. Where are you watching from and what time is it? And if hearing a dead friend's voice calling from the woods gives you chills, hit that like button. Subscribe for more real military encounters. Now let's begin. April 2021. Tongass National Rainforest, Alaska. That's where I learned that some things in nature can steal your voice, can use it against the people who loved you, can call to your friends in your exact tone, your exact words, and lead them to their deaths. My name is Corporal Alex Torres, 26 years old, 2nd Battalion, 3rd Marines, and I'm one of 2 people who survived an encounter with things the Tlingit people call Kushtaka, land otter people, shapeshifters, voice thieves, things that drown you in water so shallow you could drink from it without kneeling. We were 8 Marines, standard Arctic survival training, 2 weeks in the Tongass learning cold weather operations, coastal navigation, survival skills for Alaska deployment scenarios. The kind of training that prepares you for operations in extreme northern environments against conventional threats. Nobody mentioned the unconventional threats, the things that have lived in the Tongass for thousands of years. The things the native Tlingit have been warning about since before white men arrived in Alaska. Our team leader was Staff Sergeant Ben Coleman, 34, 3 deployments, Afghanistan veteran. Solid NCO who'd kept Marines alive in Helmand Province through careful planning and respect for intelligence, both the briefings and his own gut instincts. He'd survive this. I'd survive this. The other 6 wouldn't. We flew into Sitka, a small coastal city, population maybe 9,000. Staged our equipment, drew cold weather gear, got briefed on the training area. The Tongass National Rainforest covers 17 million acres, largest temperate rainforest in North America, dense spruce and hemlock, coastal islands, rivers and streams everywhere. Beautiful country. Dangerous country if you don't respect it. At the outfitter shop where we bought supplementary gear, we met Joseph Tanakate, Tlingit elder, maybe 70, with the kind of face that shows a lifetime spent in Alaska weather. He was sitting outside the shop, carving a piece of cedar, when Coleman asked him about the area we'd be training in. Cake region, Coleman said, showing him the map. Near Gunnock Creek. Good area for cold weather training? Joseph looked at the map. His expression changed. Not fear exactly, more like resigned concern, like he'd seen this before and knew what came next. That's Kushtaka territory, he said quietly. You should choose different area. Kushtaka? Coleman asked politely. What's that? Land otter people, shapeshifters. They live in the water, in the forests near water. They look like otters sometimes, like people sometimes, but they're neither. They're something else, something old. One of our guys, Private Ryan Walsh, smiled. Not mockingly, just the polite smile you give when hearing folklore. We'll be careful around the otters, sir. Not otters, Joseph said firmly. Kushtaka. They steal voices. Steal the voices of people who die near water. Use those voices to call others, to lure them. You hear someone calling in the forest, someone you know, don't follow. It's not them, it's Kushtaka using their voice, trying to lead you to water, to drown you. Why would they drown people? I asked. To take you. Make you one of them, or just to protect their territory. Kushtaka don't like humans in their areas. You respect that. You stay away from their waters. You might be okay. You ignore warnings. He shook his head. Every year, people go into Tongass. Every year, some don't come back. Found later, drowned in impossible places. Creeks so shallow a child could wade through. That's Kushtaka work. Coleman thanked him. We left, and in the truck heading to the insertion point, we talked about it. mountain folklore, native superstition, respect for indigenous beliefs, but understanding they grew from natural phenomena, dangerous waters, hypothermia, disorientation in dense forest. Those things killed people, not shape-shifting otter men who stole voices. We should have listened to Joseph. The helicopter dropped us at our training area on April 14th. Cold, but not freezing, maybe 40 degrees. Constant drizzle. Everything wet. Moss covering every surface. Trees so dense you could barely see 20 yards in any direction. The sound of water everywhere, streams, drips, the ocean not far away. Beautiful country, Sergeant Jake Morrison said, looking around. Reminds me of Washington State, Olympic Peninsula. Morrison was 28, good Marine, experienced, been with the unit for 4 years. Everyone liked him. He had this easy confidence, this way of making difficult situations feel manageable just by being calm about them. He'd be dead in 6 hours. We established base camp near Gunnock Creek. Good position. Elevated slightly above the water. Clear area for tents. Creek provided water source after purification. Coleman set the watch schedule. 2 Marines, 2-hour shifts, standard rotation. Tomorrow we start the real training, Coleman briefed. Cold water crossings, shelter building, fire starting in wet conditions, navigation through dense forest, standard Arctic survival curriculum. Questions? What about the Kushtaka? Walsh asked. Half joking, but also genuinely curious. We respect the local wildlife, Coleman replied. Sea otters are protected species. We see any, we observe from distance, we don't disturb them. As for the folklore Joseph shared, we're professionals. We don't dismiss indigenous knowledge, but we also understand the difference between natural hazards and supernatural stories. Stay alert, stay smart. We'll be fine. We spent that first afternoon setting camp, organizing gear, going over equipment checks, everything by the book. Coleman ran a tight operation. No shortcuts, no assumptions, double-check everything. That attention to detail had kept his Marines alive in Afghanistan. It would keep most of us alive here, too. That evening, we practiced cold water crossing techniques in Gunnock Creek. The water was maybe 3 feet deep at the crossing point. Fast-moving, but manageable. We'd practice buddy carries, rope-assisted crossings, emergency procedures for if someone fell in. Morrison went first, demonstrating proper technique. He waded in, moved across steadily, reached the far side, turned to wave at us, started back across. Halfway back, he slipped. The rocks were slick with moss and algae. His foot went out from under him. He went down hard, hit his head on a rock, went under. We were in the water instantly. Coleman, me, Lance Corporal David Kim. Grabbed Morrison, pulled him out. He was unconscious, bleeding from a gash on his forehead. We got him to shore, started first aid. He came to after maybe 30 seconds, confused, disoriented. What happened? You slipped, hit your head, you're okay, stay down. We assessed him, concussion likely, head wound bleeding but not severe. We cleaned it, bandaged it, kept him warm. Coleman got on the radio, called for medical evacuation. Medevac inbound, Coleman reported 20 minutes later. ETA 90 minutes. Morrison, you're going back to Sitka. Get checked out properly. Rest of us continue training. I'm fine, Morrison protested. Just a bump. That's an order. Head injuries don't mess around. You get cleared by medical, you can rejoin us. Until then, you're out. The helicopter came at 1900. Took Morrison back to Sitka. We watched it disappear into the gray Alaska sky. 7 Marines now. We ate MRES. Talked about adjusting the training schedule. Went over safety protocols. Morrison's accident was a reminder that even routine training could turn dangerous in environments like this. "Stay alert tomorrow," Coleman emphasized. "Those rocks are slicker than they look. We buddy up for all water crossings. No solo movements near the creek. Clear?" "Clear, Staff Sergeant." We turned in around 2100. Kim and Private Marcus Chen had first watch, the rest of us in our tents. The sound of rain on nylon, the sound of the creek running, the sound of water dripping from a million trees in the Tongass. And then, around 2300, a different sound, a voice, calling from the forest. "Help! Someone help me!" I sat up in my tent. That voice, I knew that voice, Morrison. But Morrison was in Sitka. Medevaced out. He couldn't be here. Unless the helicopter had come back. Unless he'd been cleared and returned. I crawled out of my tent. Saw Kim and Chen at the perimeter, looking into the forest. Saw the other Marines emerging from their tents. "Did you hear that?" Kim asked. "Morrison," I said. That was Morrison's voice. "Can't be," Coleman said. "He's in Sitka. He's... Help! I'm hurt. Please." Morrison's voice, unmistakable. Coming from the forest northeast of our camp. Maybe 100 yards away. Desperate. Scared. The voice of someone in pain. "Maybe the helicopter crashed," Walsh suggested. "Maybe they came back and went down in the forest. Maybe..." Coleman was already on the radio. "Sitka Ops, this is Coleman. Confirm status of medical evacuation flight 073, over." Static. Then, "Coleman, 073 landed Sitka at 2000 hours. Patient transferred to hospital. Helicopter is grounded for maintenance. Over. Confirm patient status." "Patient is at hospital. Confirmed. Over." Coleman lowered the radio. We all looked at each other. Morrison was in the hospital in Sitka. 90 miles away. He couldn't be in the forest calling for help. "Please, someone. I can't see. Everything's dark." The voice was moving. Deeper into the forest, away from camp. And it sounded exactly like Morrison. The tone, the cadence, the slight Texas accent. Everything. "It's not him," Coleman said. "Can't be him. Could be another hiker, someone in distress, could be..." "It sounds exactly like Jake," Corporal Jennifer Hayes said. "Exactly. How could someone else sound exactly like him?" "Audio distortion," Coleman suggested. But he didn't sound convinced. "Environmental effects. We think it sounds like Morrison because we're expecting to hear Morrison, but it's someone else, and they need help. Or it's what Joseph warned us about," I said quietly. "Kushtaka, using Morrison's voice, trying to lure us." "That's folklore," Coleman replied. But again, no conviction. "We don't make tactical decisions based on folklore." "Is anyone there? I'm lost. Please." The voice was getting fainter, moving deeper into the Tongass. "I'm going," Kim said. He was already grabbing his rifle, his flashlight. "Someone's in trouble. We don't ignore distress calls." "Wait," Coleman ordered. "We don't split up. We don't go running into unknown terrain at night. If someone's in distress, we mount a proper rescue operation. There might not be time." Kim was moving toward the forest. "I'll do a quick recon, 100 yards. If I find them, I call back. If not, I return, 5 minutes." "Kim, that's an order. Stand down." But Kim was already into the tree line, moving fast, following the voice. We stood there listening. Heard Kim crashing through undergrowth, heard him calling, "Hello? Can you hear me? I'm a Marine. I'm here to help." Then silence. "Kim," Coleman shouted. "Report." Nothing. "Kim." Still nothing. Coleman grabbed his rifle. Hayes, Walsh, with me. Torres, Chen, Carter, you hold the camp. We're going after Kim. We'll be back in 15 minutes. If we're not, you call for extraction and you get out of here, understood? Understood. Coleman, Hayes, and Walsh moved into the forest. Following the path Kim had taken, we could see their flashlight beams cutting through the darkness, could hear them calling Kim's name. Chen, Private Tom Anderson, Lance Corporal James Carter, and I held the perimeter. Watching. Waiting. Listening. 10 minutes passed, no word from Coleman's team. 15 minutes. 20. Then, faint in the distance, Morrison's voice again. I found something. Come see. But it wasn't coming from where Coleman's team had gone. It was coming from a different direction, south of camp, and it still sounded exactly like Morrison. That's not possible, Carter said. That voice can't be in two places. It's not Morrison, I said. It's never been Morrison. It's what Joseph warned us about. And then we heard a different voice, Kim's voice, coming from the same direction as Morrison's. Guys, over here! You have to see this! Kim's voice. But Kim had disappeared into the forest 20 minutes ago. Kim hadn't called back. Kim hadn't reported. Don't, I said, when Carter started toward the voice. Don't follow it. That's not Kim. That's not Morrison. It's something else using their voices. You don't know that, Anderson argued. You're letting that old man's stories get in your head. That's our brothers out there. They need help. If they needed help, they'd use radio, I countered. Why call with voices when we have comms? Anderson pulled out his radio. Coleman, this is Anderson. Do you copy? Static. Hayes? Walsh? Anyone? No response. Radio's dead, Anderson said. Environmental interference, mountains, moisture, something. The voices are all we have. Torres! Anderson! Come help us! Coleman's voice now, coming from the same area as Morrison's and Kim's. 3 voices, all from the same spot, all calling us. Something's wrong, Chen said quietly. 3 of our guys wouldn't all be in the same place calling us when they have radios. This doesn't make tactical sense. Maybe they're together, Anderson suggested. Maybe they found Kim and they're all together and the radios are malfunctioning and... Or maybe it's a trap, I said. Maybe whatever's out there has all 3 of them and it's using their voices to get the rest of us. We stood there, 4 Marines, hearing our brothers calling for help, knowing we should respond, knowing helping brothers is what Marines do, but also knowing something was fundamentally wrong with this situation. We hold position, I decided. We wait for daylight. We don't go into that forest at night. They could die out there, Anderson protested. They might already be dead, and if we go out there, we die too. We hold. But even as I said it, I heard another voice. My sister's voice. My sister who lived in California. My sister who was 3,000 miles away. Alex? Alex, I'm scared. Please come find me. My sister's voice, exact, perfect, using my nickname only family used. That's not possible, I whispered, but my feet were moving, toward the forest, toward the voice. Chen grabbed my arm. Torres, don't, that's what it wants. I stopped, realized I'd taken 3 steps toward the tree line without consciously deciding to. The voice had pulled me, had used my sister's voice to override my tactical judgment. We need to leave, Chen said. Now. Call for emergency extraction. Get out of here before we all follow those voices. He was right, but before I could respond, we heard screaming, human screaming, coming from deep in the forest. Multiple voices, our teammates, screaming in terror and pain. Then silence, and then, In that silence, we heard something else. Not human voices. Animal sounds, but wrong, wet, chittering sounds. Like otters, but deeper, more complex, almost like language. And we knew. We understood. The Kushtaka were real. They'd taken Coleman, Hayes, Walsh, Kim, used their voices, and now they had them. 4 of us left. 4 Marines out of 8. And the night was only beginning. We didn't sleep that night. How could we? 4 Marines holding a perimeter, listening to voices that shouldn't exist calling from the darkness. Sometimes our teammates. Sometimes family members thousands of miles away. Sometimes people we'd lost years ago. The voices knew things, personal things. They called us by nicknames only specific people used. Referenced memories only those people would know. My sister's voice talked about our childhood dog. Chen's mother, his mother who'd died 3 years ago, spoke to him in Mandarin, using phrases she'd always said. "It's reading our minds," Anderson said around 0300. Or it knows things it shouldn't. How does it know about my brother? How does it know what he sounds like? I've never even talked about him here. I don't know, I admitted. But we don't follow the voices. We don't respond. We hold position until daylight. Dawn came at 0600. Gray. Wet. The Tongass emerging from darkness into a dim, rain-soaked morning. The voices had stopped around 0500, like they only worked in darkness, like whatever was using them needed night to operate. "Search pattern," I said. "We find our guys. We find evidence of what happened. We document everything. And we call for extraction. Carter, you're with me. Chen, Anderson, your team too. We stay in visual contact. Nobody goes more than 50 yards from their partner. Clear?" "Clear." We moved into the forest, following the paths Coleman's team had taken, following the direction the voices had come from, and we found nothing. No bodies, no blood, no signs of struggle, no equipment, no brass casings if they'd fired their weapons. Just forest, dense, wet, untouched forest. "They came this way," Carter said, pointing at disturbed undergrowth. "You can see where they push through, but then nothing. The trail just stops." He was right. We could track Coleman's team for about 70 yards. Then the signs of passage simply ended. Like they'd been lifted into the air. Like they'd ceased to exist mid-step. "Check for drag marks," I ordered. "Blood, anything." We searched for 2 hours. Found nothing. 4 Marines had entered this forest and vanished completely. No trace. No evidence. Nothing that explained what happened. Except for one thing. At the end of one trail, where the disturbance stopped, we found otter tracks. Small, maybe 8 inches long. Leading from where the human tracks ended, down toward Gunnock Creek. "Otters don't abduct Marines," Anderson said, but his voice was uncertain. "Regular otters don't," Chen replied, "but these might not be regular otters." We followed the otter tracks. They led to the creek. And there, in the mud at the water's edge, the tracks changed, became larger, more human-like. 5-toed, with webbing visible between the toes, leading into the water and disappearing. "What the hell are those?" Carter asked. I thought about Joseph's warning. Land otter people. Shapeshifters. They look like otters sometimes, like people sometimes. "We need to leave," I said. "Now. Call for emergency extraction. Get helicopters here. Get us out of the Tongass." Back at camp, Anderson got on the radio. "Sitka Ops, this is Anderson. Request immediate emergency extraction. 4 personnel missing. Possible wildlife encounter. Need evac ASAP. Over." Long pause, then, Anderson, confirm casualties. Are personnel injured or deceased? Over. Unknown. Personnel missing. No contact since last night. Evidence suggests unclear situation. Request immediate extraction. Over. Copy. Processing emergency extraction request. Standby for approval and ETA. Over. We waited. 1 hour. 2 hours. The radio crackled at 0900. Anderson. Extraction request denied. Command requires confirmation of casualties or imminent danger before authorizing emergency evac. Current situation classified as potential AWOL. Recommend continued search operations. Over. They think our guys went AWOL? Carter demanded. 4 Marines disappeared in the Tongass and they think they just walked off? They don't understand, Chen said quietly. How could they? We don't even understand. At 1100, we heard the voices again. Daylight. The voices were operating in daylight now. Torres, we found a shelter. Come see. Coleman's voice, coming from west of camp. Different direction than last night. Don't, I said to the others. Don't acknowledge it. Don't respond. Anderson. Chen. We need help moving equipment. Hayes' voice now, from the south. It's trying to split us up, I said, using different voices from different directions, trying to separate us so it can take us one by one. What if it really is them? Anderson asked. What if they survived and they're trying to signal us? Then they'd use radio. They'd fire signal shots. They wouldn't just call with voices. That's not protocol. But even as I said it, I heard another voice. My father. My father who'd died when I was 12. Saying things he used to say, using his exact tone. Alex, mijo, I need to show you something. It's important. I closed my eyes, gripped my rifle, fought the urge to follow that voice, to hear my father's voice again after 14 years. It's not him, I said aloud. It's not them. It's never them. Throughout the day, the voices continued. Different people, different directions. Sometimes multiple voices at once, calling from different locations, creating confusion, creating opportunities to split us up. We didn't split, we stayed together. 4 Marines in a tight perimeter, weapons ready, refusing to respond to the voices no matter what they said, no matter how personal, no matter how convincing. At 1500, Chen made a decision. I'm going to try something. Cover me. He stood, faced the forest where the voices were coming from, and shouted, I know what you are. You're Kushtaka, land Otter People. You're using the voices of people you've taken. But you can't have us. We know your tricks. Silence. Complete silence. For maybe 10 seconds. Then laughter. Multiple voices laughing. Morrison, Kim, Coleman, Hayes, Walsh, all laughing together, that same wet, chittering quality underneath, not quite human. Almost human, but wrong. And then a new voice. A voice that made my blood freeze. Morrison's voice, but different. Speaking clearly, calmly, with intelligence behind it. You're right. We are Kushtaka. We took your friends, used their voices. We'll use them to take you. You cannot leave our territory, cannot escape. We'll join them in the water. We'll become like us, or we'll drown. Your choice. Jesus Christ, Anderson whispered. It's intelligent. It's actually communicating. Leave our territory, the voice continued. Walk toward the ocean. West. We will not follow beyond the beach. Stay in forest, you become ours. Simple choice. Make it. It's giving us a way out, Carter said. Letting us leave. Or it's hurting us, Chen countered. Leading us somewhere worse. Worse than here? Anderson demanded. 4 of our brothers are gone, taken by things that steal voices. I'll take my chances heading for the coast. We don't know the coast is safe, I argued. We don't know. Make your choice. All 5 voices screaming together. Morrison, Kim, Coleman, Hayes, Walsh. An impossible chorus of our missing teammates. The sound echoing through the Tongass. We go west, I decided, toward the ocean, but we stay alert. We expect traps. We don't trust anything. Move out. We broke camp. Fast. Just grabbed essential gear, weapons, water, emergency supplies, left the tents, left everything else, started moving west through the forest. The voices followed us, not threatening now, almost encouraging. That's right. Keep going. Almost there. You're doing good. Helpful, guiding, using our teammates' voices to give us directions, to keep us moving west. And that's what terrified me. Because if the Kushtaka wanted us to go west, there was a reason. Something west was worse than what was behind us. We moved for 2 hours. Through dense forest. Across streams. Over fallen logs. The terrain getting rougher. More water. More creeks. Everything wet, everything slippery. At 1700, we reached a wide creek, maybe 15 feet across. Fast-moving water, too deep to wade. We'd have to find a crossing point or use ropes. There, fallen log, Walsh's voice, pointing out a massive spruce that had fallen across the creek, creating a natural bridge. We're not following voice directions, I said. Find our own crossing. But Anderson was already moving toward the log. It's just showing us a bridge. It's helping us get across. Stop being paranoid. Anderson, wait. He didn't wait. Stepped onto the log. Started across. The log was maybe 2 feet in diameter. Wet, covered in moss. Anderson moved carefully. Arms out for balance. Halfway across. 3/4. He was going to make it. The voice had actually helped. Then something grabbed his ankle from the water. I saw it. We all saw it. A hand, human-sized but wrong. Webbed fingers, grayish skin, grabbing Anderson's ankle and yanking. Anderson fell, hit the log, rolled off into the water, went under. We were running. To the log to help. But Anderson surfaced once, gasping, eyes wide with terror, being pulled downstream. Fast. Faster than the current. Something pulling him under the water. Anderson! He went under again. Didn't surface. The water carried him around a bend, gone. Get back from the water! I screamed. We retreated. Weapons trained on the creek. Watching. Waiting for whatever had grabbed Anderson to show itself. And it did. It came out of the water slowly, deliberately, making sure we saw it. It was maybe 4.5 feet tall, covered in wet, dark fur. Otter-like, but wrong. Its body was too thick, too muscular. Its front legs ended in hands, human-like hands with 5 fingers, webbed, with claws. Its face was otter-shaped, but the eyes were wrong. Too intelligent, too aware. Looking at us with understanding, with calculation. Holy shit, Carter breathed. It's real, the Kushtaka. It's actually real. The creature tilted its head, opened its mouth, and spoke with Anderson's voice. Help! Please! It's got me! Help! Anderson's voice, coming from that thing's mouth. Perfect mimicry, using the voice of the man it had just taken. Then it spoke with Morrison's voice. Run. Save yourselves. Then Kim's voice. You can't win. Then Walsh's voice. Join us in the water. 4 different voices from one creature, demonstrating its power, showing us what it could do, what it had done to our teammates. And then it changed. Its shape shifted, flowed, the fur receding, the body growing, becoming more human, more bipedal. until it stood there in waist-deep water looking almost like a person with webbed hands and otter features and wrong proportions, but close enough to human to be deeply disturbing. "You see," it said with Coleman's voice, "we are many things. Otter, human, between. We take shapes, we take voices, we take you." "Back away," I ordered. "Slow, don't run, don't turn your backs." We backed away from the creek. The Kushtaka watched us. Didn't follow. Just stood there in the water, watching with those too intelligent eyes. And then we heard splashing. Multiple sources. Other Kushtaka emerging from the water. Upstream, downstream. 5 of them, 6, 7. All roughly the same size, all with that same disturbing human-otter hybrid appearance. "They're herding us," Chen said. "Away from the water, deeper into the forest." "Why?" Carter asked. "Maybe they only hunt near water. Maybe they need water to function. Maybe—" One of the Kushtaka spoke, using Hayes' voice, the female Marine who'd disappeared last night. "Run, little fish. Run from water. Run to where you think is safe. We follow, we wait, we take you when ready. No escape. Only delay." And then all 7 of them slipped back into the water, disappeared beneath the surface. Gone. We stood there. 3 Marines. 8 had started this training. 5 gone in less than 24 hours. Anderson grabbed by something that wore our teammates' voices like masks, something that could change shape, something that hunted with intelligence and patience. "We need to get away from water," I said. "Find high ground, dry ground, somewhere they can't reach us." We moved inland, away from the creek, but the Tongass is a rainforest. Water is everywhere, streams, puddles, moisture in the air. We couldn't get away from water, not here, not in this environment that belonged to the Kushtaka. Night was falling. Our second night in the Tongass. We'd lost 5 Marines. We were running out of time, running out of options. And the voices were starting again, all around us in the darkness, calling, promising, threatening. This time using 6 voices: Morrison, Kim, Coleman, Hayes, Walsh, Anderson. 6 Marines taken, 3 left, and the Kushtaka were just beginning their hunt. Night 2. 3 Marines huddled in the wet darkness of the Tongass, surrounded by voices. Voices of our friends, our families, our pasts, all stolen, all weaponized against us. "Alex, please, I'm so cold. Help me." My sister. Except my sister was in San Diego, safe. This was just a thing wearing her voice like stolen clothing. "Torres, Chen, Carter." Coleman's voice. Our team leader, taken last night. His voice now belonged to the Kushtaka. They'd use it until they no longer needed it. Until they'd taken everyone who knew that voice. We'd found what we thought was defensible ground. A rocky outcrop maybe 100 yards from the nearest visible water. High, dry, surrounded by low vegetation that would make it hard for anything to approach unseen. But the Kushtaka didn't need to approach. They had voices. They had patience. They could wait. "How long do we hold here?" Carter asked. He was shaking, not from cold, from fear. From 2 days of psychological warfare that was breaking down even the strongest tactical discipline. "Until daylight," I said. "Then we make for the coast. We get to a road, a village, anywhere with people. Get out of this forest." "They said they'd let us go if we went west," Chen pointed out. "Maybe they meant it. Maybe if we just—" "They lied," I interrupted. "They herded us toward that creek. Used Anderson as bait. They're not letting us go. They're hunting us, playing with us, making it last." "Why?" Carter demanded. "If they can take us, why not just take us? Why the voices? Why the waiting?" I don't know. Maybe it's how they hunt. Maybe they feed on fear. Maybe they're just cruel. Doesn't matter. What matters is surviving until we can get extraction. Torres, we're not getting extraction. Command thinks our guys went AWOL. They're not sending helicopters into the Tongass for what they think is a discipline problem. We're on our own. He was right, and we all knew it. The Marine Corps wasn't coming. Nobody was coming. 3 Marines against an unknown number of shape-shifting voice thieves in 17 million acres of rainforest. The odds were impossible. Then we walk out, I said. Tongass borders the ocean. We get to the coast, we follow it north. Eventually, we hit a settlement. Point Baker, Port Protection, something. We just have to survive long enough to reach it. That's 50 miles through this, Chen said, gesturing at the dark forest. Through their territory, past who knows how many of them, we won't make it. We're Marines. We make it because the alternative is dying here. Or worse, becoming like the others, used as bait. Our voices turned against the next group of people who don't believe the warnings. Around midnight, the voices changed tactics. Instead of calling to us, they had conversations with each other, using our teammates' voices. Hey, Kim, you think they'll follow? I don't know, Morrison. They seem smart, staying put. We could rush them, take them now. No, better to wait. Let the fear work. Let them break themselves. Listening to our missing teammates discuss our deaths in casual tones was somehow worse than hearing them call for help. This wasn't mimicry anymore. This was the Kushtaka using our friends' voices to demonstrate complete ownership. Complete control. I'm going to be sick, Carter said. Don't, I replied. They're trying to break us, trying to make us run, scatter. If we run, we die alone. We stay together, we have a chance. But around 0200, Carter broke. We heard his girlfriend's voice, Amanda, the woman he was going to marry next summer, calling from the darkness. James, baby, I'm here. I came to find you. I'm lost. Please help me. Carter stood. That's Amanda. That's her voice. How do they know about Amanda? How? It's not her. I grabbed his arm. It's them, using information somehow, reading our minds or our memories or something. But it's not Amanda. She's in Virginia, safe. James, I'm scared, please. I have to check, Carter said. I have to be sure. Don't. But he was already moving, toward the voice, toward Amanda calling from the darkness. And we couldn't stop him without creating noise, without giving away our exact position to whatever was out there. We heard Carter crashing through brush. Heard him calling, Amanda, where are you? Keep talking. Then we heard splashing. Water. A creek we hadn't seen in the darkness. Carter had run straight into water. Carter, I was shouting now, get back here. Silence. Then Carter's voice, from the direction he'd run. Guys, I found her. She's okay. Come help me get her back. That's not Carter, Chen said. That's them. They got him. They're using his voice already. How? I demanded. He just disappeared 30 seconds ago. How can they use his voice that fast? Because they're not animals. They're something else. Something that understands us, learns us, steals from us in ways we don't understand. 2 of us now, Chen and me, 2 out of 8. 75% casualties in less than 48 hours. Losses worse than most combat operations. Losses that would trigger investigations and inquiries if anyone believed what was actually happening. We move, I said. Now, before they surround us completely. We make for the coast. We don't stop. We don't rest. We just run. We ran. Through the darkness. Through the Tongass. crashed through vegetation, jumped over streams, slipped on wet rocks, ran like our lives depended on it because they did. Behind us, the voices followed. 7 now, all our taken teammates, plus my sister, plus Chen's mother, plus Carter's fiancé, plus others. Voices multiplying, growing, the Kushtaka learning more about us with each person they took, gaining access to more memories, more relationships, more ammunition. We ran for hours. Don't know how far, maybe 5 miles, maybe 10. Just knew we had to keep moving, had to stay ahead of the voices, had to reach the ocean before they got us. At 0430, we saw lights. Through the trees, artificial lights, electric lights, civilization. There, Chen gasped. A building! We crashed out of the forest onto a dirt road. There was a small building, wooden, lights on inside. A truck parked outside, a dock extending into dark water. A fishing station, remote, isolated, but human, safe. We ran to the door, pounded on it. Help! Open up! Marines, we need help! The door opened, old man, maybe 70. Tlingit looked at us with tired, knowing eyes, like he'd seen this before. Kushtaka, he said. Not a question. A statement. Yes, I gasped. They took our team. 6 Marines, we're all that's left. Please. Radio, phone, anything. He let us in, small room. Radio equipment. Maps, fishing gear. He grabbed his radio, called someone, spoke in Tlingit. Fast, urgent. Boat coming, he said after hanging up. 30 minutes. We'll take you to Cake. You'll be safe there. Kushtaka, don't go to Keke. Too many people, too much iron. Old protections. Our teammates, Chen said. Can we get them back? Can we? No, the old man said firmly. What Kushtaka take, Kushtaka keep. Your friends are gone. Drowned or changed or used. Best to forget them. Best to leave Tongass and never come back. Through the window, we could see movement at the tree line. Shapes. Multiple shapes. The Kushtaka. They'd followed us. Were gathered at the edge of the forest, watching the building, not approaching, like there was a boundary they wouldn't cross. They won't come here, the old man said. This building has protections. Copper on the doorframe, iron nails in specific patterns, old Tlingit ways. Kushtaka respect old ways. They stay in forest. You stay here, you're safe. We sat, exhausted, terrified, waiting for the boat. And through the window, we watched the Kushtaka watch us. They stood at the tree line. 7 figures. Otter-human hybrids. Some more otter, some more human. All wrong, all disturbing. And as we watched, one of them opened its mouth. Coleman's voice came out. You survived. Good. Tell others. Tell them about Kushtaka. Tell them Tongass belongs to us. Tell them to respect warnings, to believe elders, to stay away from our waters. You do this, we let you go. You don't. The voice changed to Morrison's. We know where you live. Know your families. Know everyone you love. Can find them. Can take them. Can use their voices too. Tell the story. Spread the warning. Or become the warning. Then they turned, all 7, and walked back into the forest. Disappeared into the Tongass. Gone. The boat came 40 minutes later. Fishing vessel. Tlingit crew who knew why we were there without being told. Who'd probably pulled survivors from the Tongass before. Who understood what the Kushtaka were and what they did. You're the lucky ones, the captain said as we climbed aboard. Old Tlingit man, weathered face, eyes that had seen too much. Most who go into Kushtaka water don't come back, or come back wrong, changed. You two still human, still yourselves, that's rare. Our teammates, Chen said. Can we go back for them, can we? No, the captain said firmly. What the Kushtaka take, the Kushtaka keep. Your friends are gone, in the water, part of the water now. You go back, you join them, best to leave, best to forget, best to never return. The boat pulled away from the dock. As we moved into open water, I looked back at the fishing station, at the tree line beyond it, and I saw them, 7 figures standing at the edge of the forest, watching us go, the Kushtaka, making sure we left, making sure we understood the rules of their territory. One of them, the largest one, maybe 5 feet tall in its hybrid form, raised a webbed hand, not waving goodbye, pointing, at us, a reminder, a warning, a promise. We know where you live. The boat cut through the dark Alaska water, taking us away from the Tongass, away from the Kushtaka, away from the forest that had swallowed 6 Marines in 48 hours. But I could still hear them, even over the engine noise, even across the water. Voices, carried on the wind, calling. My sister's voice. Alex, come back. Morrison's voice. Don't leave us. Coleman's voice. We're not done with you. All of them. All 7 voices. Following us across the water. Fading as we got farther from shore, but never quite disappearing. Never quite leaving us alone. Chen was crying. Silent tears. Staring back at the disappearing coastline. At the Tongass. At the place where we'd lost everyone. They're still calling, he said quietly. I can still hear them, can you? Yeah, I admitted. I can hear them. Will they ever stop? I didn't answer, because I didn't know. Didn't know if the Kushtaka would keep using those voices forever. Would keep calling across distances. Would keep the stolen identities of 6 Marines alive as bait for future victims. Or if they'd eventually let them go. Release those voices back into silence. Let our teammates finally rest. But I suspected the truth. The Kushtaka would keep those voices, would use them, would add them to a collection that probably went back centuries. Voices of everyone who'd ever ignored the warnings, ever dismissed the elders, ever followed what sounded like someone they knew calling from the forest. The boat reached Cake an hour later, a small village. Maybe 600 people, mostly Tlingit. A community that understood what lived in the surrounding forest, that respected the old ways, the old warnings, the old protections. They took us in, gave us food, warm clothes, a safe place to rest, and they didn't ask questions, didn't need to. They saw our faces, saw what we'd been through, recognized the look of people who'd encountered the Kushtaka and survived. You'll want to call your command, an elder woman said. Tell them you need extraction, but first you eat, you rest. The Kushtaka can't reach you here. Cake has protections, old protections, copper, iron, salt, Tlingit ways that keep the shapeshifters away. You're safe here. We called Sitka Ops. Reported 2 survivors, 6 Marines missing. Requested immediate extraction and search and rescue. The voice on the other end was skeptical, concerned. Asked questions we couldn't properly answer yet. What happened to the others? They're gone. Taken. We need search teams. We need... Taken by what? What are you talking about? Were you attacked? Yes. No, it's complicated. Just send the helicopters. Send search teams. Send everything you have. They came. Of course they came. 6 Marines missing meant a major search and rescue operation. But as I sat in that small village waiting for extraction, watching the forest in the distance, I knew what they'd find. Nothing, or worse than nothing. Bodies in impossible places, drowned in puddles, questions with no acceptable answers, evidence that made no sense, and two traumatized survivors telling stories about shapeshifters and stolen voices that nobody would believe. The sun was setting over the Tongass. Beautiful, peaceful. The forest looked normal, safe, like a place where people could hike and camp and enjoy nature. But I knew better now. Knew what waited in those trees, in those streams, in that water everywhere water touched. The Kushtaka, land otter people, voice thieves, things that had lived in Alaska longer than any human settlement. Things that would keep living there long after we were gone. Things that would keep taking people who didn't believe, who didn't listen, who thought legends were just stories. 6 Marines had made that mistake. 6 Marines were gone, and Chen and I would spend the rest of our lives carrying their voices, hearing them call, wondering if we'd ever really escaped, or if the Kushtaka were just patient, just waiting, just biding time until they could finish what they'd started. In the distance, from the direction of the Tongass, I heard it one more time. My name. In my sister's voice, calling from across the water. Except my sister was 3,000 miles away in San Diego. Safe, alive. This was just an echo. Just a reminder. Just the Kushtaka making sure I understood. They still had her voice, would always have it, could use it whenever they wanted. Against me, against anyone I loved, for as long as they chose to keep it. The helicopters would arrive in the morning, would take us back to civilization, back to safety, back to a world where shapeshifters and voice thieves didn't exist, where legends were just legends, where the Tongass was just a beautiful forest in Alaska. But I would know different, would always know, would carry that knowledge like a weight, like a curse, like a warning I'd have to share even though most people wouldn't believe it. 6 voices stolen, 6 Marines taken, 2 survivors left to tell a story nobody wanted to hear. And somewhere in the Tongass, the Kushtaka were waiting, patient, hungry, ready for the next group of people who didn't believe the warnings, who didn't respect the elders, who thought they could survive what 6 Marines couldn't. They couldn't, they wouldn't. And the Kushtaka would take their voices too, add them to the collection, use them to call the next victims. The cycle continuing forever in the largest temperate rainforest in North America. A forest that looked beautiful but hid horrors, a forest where voices never died, a forest that belonged to the Kushtaka, and always would. The helicopters arrived at 0800 in the next morning. 2 Blackhawks, full search and rescue complement. Marines, Navy corpsmen, command staff. They landed in Cake's small airfield, looked at us, 2 exhausted, traumatized Marines, with concern and confusion. Corporal Torres, Private Chen. The officer in charge was a major I didn't recognize. Mid-40s, crisp uniform, the kind of officer who'd never operated in real field conditions. "Where are the rest of your team?" "Gone," I said. "Taken. In the Tongass. We need search teams. We need—" "Taken by what? What happened out there?" "Kushtaka," Chen said quietly. "Land otter people. Shapeshifters. They used voices, our teammates' voices, lured them away, took them into the water, drowned them, or something worse." The major's expression shifted, concern becoming worry. Not worry about the missing Marines. Worry about us, about our mental state. "Corporal, Private, you've been through a traumatic experience. Environmental stress, sleep deprivation, possible hypothermia. The mind can create explanations for things we don't understand. What you think you saw, we know what we saw," I interrupted. "Shape-shifting creatures, 4 to 5 feet tall, otter-human hybrids. They spoke with our teammates' voices, told us they'd taken them. We watched one grab Private Anderson and pull him into a creek. These things are real. They're in the Tongass, and 6 Marines are either dead or taken because of them. The major glanced at his staff, at the medic. The look was clear. These 2 need psychological evaluation. Possible breakdown, shared delusion, handle carefully. We're launching a full search and rescue operation, the major said carefully. 3-day maximum effort. Helicopters, ground teams, boats. We'll find your teammates, and when we do, we'll piece together what really happened. But first, you 2 are going to Sitka. Medical evaluation, proper debriefing. We need to make sure you're both okay. We're not okay, Chen said. But we're alive, which is more than we can say for the others. They flew us to Sitka, put us in the hospital, ran tests, physical exams, psychological evaluations, asked the same questions 100 different ways, trying to find holes in our story, trying to get us to admit we'd imagined it, that we'd panicked, that there was a rational explanation. But our stories matched. Perfectly. Because we were telling the truth, the same truth, the truth nobody wanted to believe. Meanwhile, the search teams deployed into the Tongass. 3 full days. Multiple helicopters. 200 personnel, dogs, boats, technology. They searched a 40-mile radius from our base camp. Day 1. Found our abandoned camp. Our equipment. Everything we'd left behind when we ran. No signs of struggle, no blood, no evidence of violence, just an empty camp. Day 2. Found gear scattered in the forest. Kim's pack, Walsh's rifle, Coleman's map, all arranged neatly on the ground, like someone had laid them out deliberately, like a display, like a message. Day 3. Found Anderson. The medic who examined the body came to our hospital room. Young guy, maybe 30. Combat veteran. He'd seen death before, seen violence, seen things that would break most people. But his hands were shaking when he showed us the report. Private Anderson was found 12 miles from your base camp, he said. In a creek, but not a deep creek, not a river, a creek so shallow that I measured it, 3 inches, 3 inches of water, and he drowned. That's what they do, Chen said quietly. The Kushtaka. They drown you in impossible places. Puddles, shallow creeks, water you could step over without getting your ankles wet. That's their signature. Private, there's no physical evidence of drowning. No water in the lungs, no signs of struggle, no defensive wounds, no restraints. He was just lying face down in 3 inches of water, dead, like he'd laid down and stopped breathing, which is medically impossible for a healthy 24-year-old Marine. Unless something made him, I said. Unless he was compelled, controlled, forced to lie down in that water and breathe it in. The Kushtaka have powers. They can do things we don't understand. The medic looked at me. Corporal, I'm a man of science. I deal in evidence, in biology and physics. What you're describing violates everything I know. There's no creature that can make people drown themselves. No shapeshifter, no voice thief. There has to be another explanation. Then find one, Chen challenged. Explain how a trained Marine drowned in 3 inches of water with no signs of violence. Explain where the other 5 are. Explain the gear laid out like a display. Explain it scientifically. The medic didn't answer. Because he couldn't. The evidence didn't make sense. Didn't fit any rational explanation. But admitting that meant admitting something irrational existed. Something that shouldn't be possible. And that was a line the medical establishment wouldn't cross. The search continued for 2 more days. Expanded to 60 miles. Still found nothing. No bodies, no signs, no trace of Coleman, Hayes, Kim, Walsh, Morrison, or Carter. 6 Marines had disappeared in the Tongass completely, vanished without leaving evidence. On day 5, they called off the search, declared it a recovery operation suspended. The missing Marines were redesignated, presumed dead, would be officially declared deceased after 90 days. Families would be notified. Benefits would be paid. The Marine Corps would move on. The official investigation took 3 weeks. Interviews, evidence review, recreation of our movements, analysis of every decision. They wanted answers, wanted someone to blame, wanted the story to make sense. But it didn't make sense. Couldn't make sense. Not if you stuck to rational explanations. Not if you excluded the truth. The final report, released 6 weeks after the incident, was a masterpiece of bureaucratic fiction. Training accident. Multiple casualties due to environmental hazards in extreme Alaska conditions. Leadership failure to properly assess terrain risk. Marines became separated during night operations. 1 confirmed drowning, Anderson. 5 missing, presumed dead due to exposure, drowning, or wildlife encounter. Recommend enhanced safety protocols for future Alaska training. Recommend psychological support for survivors experiencing trauma-related delusions. No evidence of hostile action or cryptid involvement. Trauma-related delusions. That's what they called it. What Chen and I had witnessed. What we'd survived. Delusions, hallucinations, stress-induced psychosis. Anything but the truth. They're covering it up, Chen said when we read the report. They know something's out there. They know 6 Marines didn't just drown or get lost, but they can't admit it. Can't let the public know that creatures from indigenous legends actually exist. Can't acknowledge that there are things in this world we don't control, don't understand. So they lie, I said. Call it a training accident, call us delusional, classify the real story, and send the next group of Marines into Alaska without proper warnings, without telling them what actually lives in the Tongass. Will they train there again? I checked the official orders. Training operations in Tongass National Rainforest were suspended pending environmental review. No specific timeline, no explanation, just suspended. They're not going back, I realized. They're keeping Marines out of the Tongass, not officially because of Kushtaka, officially because of environmental concerns. But the effect is the same. They believe us. They just won't admit it. We were both medically separated from the Marine Corps. Honorable discharges. PTSD diagnosis. Unfit for continued service. We'd tried to fight it, tried to stay in, but the psychological evaluations were clear. We believed in shapeshifters, believed in voice-stealing cryptids, believed in things that contradicted consensus reality, that made us unreliable, unfit, a liability. They gave us benefits, therapy, support, everything except the truth. Everything except acknowledgement that what we'd experienced was real. I moved back to the lower 48, tried to build a normal life. But normal was impossible. How do you work a regular job when you know shapeshifters exist? How do you maintain relationships when you can't trust voices? How do you sleep when you dream about people you loved calling from the darkness? I couldn't. Neither could Chen. We stayed in touch. Met up sometimes. The only 2 people in the world who understood, who'd seen what we'd seen, who carried the voices of 6 dead Marines in our memories. And we started telling the story, not to the Marine Corps, not to official channels. They'd made clear they didn't want the truth. But to anyone who would listen. Cryptozoology forums, indigenous knowledge groups, paranormal researchers, YouTube channels, Reddit posts, anywhere people might believe, might take it seriously, might respect the warnings. The response was mixed. Some people believed, especially Tlingit and other Pacific Northwest indigenous communities. They knew about Kushtaka, had stories going back centuries. Our account just confirmed what they'd always known. The land Otter people were real, were dangerous, would take anyone who disrespected their territory. Others dismissed us, called us frauds, attention seekers, said we were dishonoring the memory of our fallen teammates by making up stories about monsters, said there was no such thing as shapeshifters or voice thieves, said we were mentally ill and needed help. We didn't care. We weren't trying to convince everyone. Just the people who needed the warning. The people who might go into the Tongass, who might ignore Tlingit elders, who might follow voices in the forest thinking they were real. Those people needed to know. The voices aren't real. Never follow them. The Kushtaka will use any voice to lure you. Your friend, your family, your long-dead loved ones. They have access to your memories somehow. Your relationships. Your vulnerabilities. And they'll exploit them ruthlessly. I researched Kushtaka after leaving the Corps. Found patterns. Decades of disappearances in the Tongass. Hikers, hunters, fishermen, tourists, all gone without trace, or found drowned in impossible places, in puddles, in ankle-deep streams, in water so shallow children could safely play in it. The authorities always had explanations. Hypothermia, disorientation, accidents. Tragically unlucky. But the pattern was clear to anyone looking. The Kushtaka had been taking people for generations. Were still taking people. Would keep taking people as long as humans kept ignoring the warnings. I tried to contact the families of our missing teammates, to tell them what really happened, to give them closure even if it wasn't the closure they wanted. Coleman's family hung up when I mentioned Kushtaka, called me disturbed, told me to never contact them again. Hayes' parents listened, then gently suggested I seek professional help. That grief was making me create explanations for the inexplicable. That their daughter had died in a tragic accident, and I was making it worse with fantasies about monsters. Kim's brother was different. He'd heard stories, from Korean folklore, about shapeshifters, about things that steal identities. He believed me, thanked me for trying, said at least now he knew his brother hadn't died afraid and alone, had been taken by something ancient, something beyond human understanding. There was strange comfort in that. Morrison's sister was angry, accused me of exploiting her brother's death, of making money off tragedy by telling sensational stories online, threatened legal action if I didn't stop. I stopped contacting families after that. Chen had similar experiences. Some believed, most didn't. The families wanted simple explanations. Training accident, their loved ones had died serving their country. Honorably, tragically, but understandably. The truth, that they'd been taken by cryptids, drowned in puddles, or transformed into something else, that truth was too much. Too strange, too painful. I get it, I do. If I hadn't been there, hadn't seen the Kushtaka, hadn't heard my teammates' voices calling from impossible places, I wouldn't believe it either. Would think the survivors were traumatized, delusional, creating meaning where there was only random tragedy. But I was there. I saw it, I survived it, and I carry that truth whether anyone believes me or not. 4 years later, I still move frequently. 6 different apartments in 4 years. Never stay in one place long, because I remember that threat. The Kushtaka's warning. We know where you live, know your families. I don't have close relationships anymore. Can't risk it. Can't give the Kushtaka more voices to steal, more ammunition to use against me. Everyone I love becomes a potential weapon, a voice that could call me, lure me, take me back to Alaska, back to the water, back to the Kushtaka. Chen moved to Arizona. Desert. As far from water as he could get. Said even seeing creeks made him panic, made him hear voices. He's getting therapy, making progress. But he'll never be the person he was before the Tongass. None of us will. The Tongass National Rainforest is still there. 17 million acres. Largest temperate rainforest in North America. Beautiful. Mysterious. Dangerous. Tourism websites call it pristine wilderness. Untouched nature. A place to connect with the environment. They don't mention the Kushtaka. Don't warn visitors about following voices. Don't explain that some of that pristine wilderness belongs to things that aren't natural, aren't animal or human, are something else entirely. Every year, people go missing in the Tongass. Official numbers say 5 to 10 annually, but I suspect the real number is higher. Disappearances that don't get reported. Tourists whose families think they just got lost. Locals who know better than to talk about what they know. The Kushtaka take them all. Use their voices. Add them to the collection. The chorus of stolen identities that calls from the forest. That lures the next victim. The cycle continuing forever. 6 Marines learned that the hard way. Morrison, Kim, Coleman, Hayes, Walsh, Anderson, Carter. Good people. Trained warriors. Dead or changed or used because we didn't believe an old Tlingit man named Joseph who tried to warn us. I think about Joseph sometimes. Wonder if he's still alive. Still carving cedar outside that outfitter shop in Sitka. Still warning Marines and tourists and anyone who'll listen about the Kushtaka. Still watching people smile politely and ignore him. Still knowing what will happen to them if they don't listen. If you're reading this, if you're planning to visit Alaska, to hike in the Tongass, to enjoy that beautiful ancient forest, remember this: don't follow voices. Doesn't matter who it sounds like. Doesn't matter how real it seems. Doesn't matter if it's your best friend, or your dead mother, or someone you know is 3,000 miles away. If you hear a voice calling from the forest, don't follow it. It's not them. It's never them. It's Kushtaka. Land Otter People. Shapeshifters. Voice thieves. Things that have lived in Alaska since before humans arrived. Things that will keep living there long after we're gone. Things that protect their territory by taking anyone stupid enough to trespass. To ignore warnings, to disrespect indigenous knowledge. Listen to the elders. Respect Tlingit wisdom. Understand that some legends aren't legends. Some stories aren't stories. Some warnings are literal survival information passed down through generations because they work, because they keep people alive. 6 Marines didn't listen. 6 Marines died or worse. Their voices are still out there, still calling, still being used by the Kushtaka to lure new victims. Still part of the forest that took them. Don't be number 7. Don't follow voices in Alaska. Don't ignore the warnings. Because the Kushtaka are patient. The Kushtaka are real. And the Kushtaka are waiting for you to make the same mistake we did.